This one's tough. So brace yourself for this one. There was an American citizen who was killed in the West Bank by Israeli settlers, and he was beaten to death. We have to make sure this story gets more attention, since people say we should worry about what happens to Americans. This was an American. Goes on to say here, shout out to Common Dreams for reporting this. Israeli settlers beat American to death in illegally occupied West Bank. Family and Health Ministry. This isn't good. This is oof. Here we go, guys. The Palestinian Authority Ministry of Health and Cousins of Saifullah Masalat, also known as Sai al-Din Kamal Abdul Karim Masalat, said Friday that Israeli settlers beat the dual U.S. Palestinian citizen to death while he was visiting family in the illegally occupied West Bank. How many times is this going to happen? Now, there have been a number of times also on this show where I've covered Americans that were killed there, whether it was the West Bank or not. These were settlers. Like, this is absolutely insane. A spokesperson for the ministry, Anas Abu El-Ez, told Agence France Presse, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, Agence France Presse, that 23-year-old Masalat died after being severely beaten all over his body by settlers in the town of Sinjil, north of Ramallah this afternoon. You know what's significant about Ramallah, right? You guys know what's significant about Ramallah? That's where Nelson Mandela went to Ramallah. There was a statue. I don't know if it's still there. I got to check. There was a statue of Nelson Mandela in Ramallah. It goes on to say Abdul from the nearby village of Al-Maraz al-Sharqiya said that the young man was injured and remained so for 4 hours. The Israeli army prevented us from reaching him and did not allow us to take him away. When we finally managed to reach him, he was taking his last breath. The Times of Israel reported that the ministry later said a second man, 23-year-old Mohammed Shalabi, was fatally shot by settlers, and there have been no arrests yet. So I just want people to think about something for just a second. The settlers, just imagine if you went to, I don't know, Florida or something, and everybody in Florida just decided to take up arms and pretend to be the police. Remember when we covered the story about the Hollywood director that had just won the Oscar about the Palestinian film, and he went back to the West Bank, and they tried to beat him to death. This is what they do. Like this is insane. And no accountability, no repercussions at all. Now, he's an American, so I'm sitting back and I'm wondering, all the other Americans going to get outraged by this? It's absolutely insane. Natalie said, yep, the West Bank is becoming a mini Gaza. Yes. And I don't want people to turn their eyes away from the West Bank, because I know a lot of the attention is on Gaza. I want people to understand what they're doing in the West Bank as well. The Israeli army said it was aware of reports of the incident and that it was being looked into by Shin Bet Security Service and Israel police. Yeah, everything's always being looked into, right? Always being looked into. Let's go on here. Ziteo's Prem Thakur spoke with two of Masalat's cousin, Fatma Mohammed, and another granted anonymity due to safety concerns. They said he grew up in Port Charlotte, Florida, and arrived in June to visit family in the Palestinian town of Al-Mazraz Ash-Sharqiya. So he's from Florida. So to all the Florida peeps, that's where he's from. This is so sad. That's why I have to end this story on a positive note, because this is so sad, because this really like makes me feel some type of way. It really makes me feel some type of way. Muhammad described Masalat as one of those kids that everyone loves, with a beautiful heart, a sweet, gentle kid, very genuine. In Florida, he helped run a family ice cream shop, a place where his personality shone through, his family members said. Muhammad and the other family source said that the entire Palestinian town where the family is from is devastated. There is no justice there. You can't call the police. You can't call the Israeli government. The murderers just walk away. This is why. And this is why. And I guess, I get some of what Shama, was saying about the Israel thing, but I personally have no intentions of trying to work in that area. There is no accountability to the settlers, just like the IDF. There is no accountability to the settlers who just walk through the West Bank, take people's homes, kill them, beat them to death. No accountability. It's supremacy on steroids, because they have been brainwashed since they were kids that the land belongs to them and you should not be there. This is why I don't understand how any American can support Israel. American citizen. Where are all the Congress members? Why aren't they screaming at the top of their lungs? When we say enough is enough, we do have to shout out those that are trying to make a difference. There is another freedom flotilla heading out. This one's heading out to Gaza. Chris Smalls is a part of this effort. So the last flotilla that was stopped by Israel, that's not the last one. We got another one going out. We have people trying to make a difference. And there are more Americans also that have joined this one. Check it out. So we're going to have to track this one, guys. Remember how we were able to track the other one? We're going to have to track this one. Yes, JB says, shout out to Chris Smalls. That's right. That's right. And I'm going to say something about this in just a second, too, about Chris Smalls, because he really didn't have to do this, right? He really didn't have to do it, but he decided to. So they are off. They are setting sail there. And here's Chris Smalls here. All eyes on the Hondola. Onward to Gaza. Let me say something. Through time, you find out who's a real one and who's not. Chris Smalls is a real one. Chris Smalls, after he was able to win the unionization against Amazon at the Staten Island location in New York, he was invited onto all these different shows. He went on to, mainstream media. They brought him all over the place. They put him on the cover of magazines, etc. I think they wanted him to write a book, all these different things. After that, Chris Smalls could have just tried to get as much money as he could from doing what he did and just faded into the sunset. He didn't have to come out and keep fighting. He didn't have to go to other companies across the United States to try to help them unionize. He didn't have to do any of those things. He don't have to do this right now. And that's the point that I'm trying to make. As time goes by, you start to notice the real ones. You start to notice the people that are like, no, I am serious about this, and we need to have solidarity. We need to help people. We need to do yada, yada. Chris was serious about that. And look at what he's doing now. He didn't have to do these things. He didn't have to go to Cuba. He didn't have to go, help all these other companies, the unions that were trying to strike. He didn't have to do that. He could have just, and what most people would have done, he could have just collected his money and did what he had to do. Collected his money and just faded into the sunset, wrote books, given speaking engagements, and just chilled. That's a real one. So I know the story about the American killed in the West Bank. I know that's a sad story, and that was a tough one. But what I do want you to know is that people are still fighting. So shout out to Chris Smalls and all the other peeps aboard the Handela, and we'll be watching. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.